Also ich glaube, meine Eltern meinten, dass ich mit 4 oder 5 Jahren schon angefangen habe, irgendwie Computer zu spielen. Also ganz alte Konsolen auf Nintendo und solche Sachen. Ich war einfach immer irgendwie recht interessiert in Gaming, schon von ganz, ganz jung an. Größtenteils habe ich gerade mit meinem Bruder gespielt und es war einfach immer mein Ziel, dass ich gewinnen wollte. Generell denke ich, bin ich einfach ziemlich zielstrebig. Wenn ich mir ein Ziel setze, dann versuche ich einfach alles, das zu erreichen und ehrgeizig, denke ich. Für mich war das ja alles neu, die ganze E-Sport-Szene damals. Wenn ich mich recht erinnere, war das erste Spiel, das ich geschaut habe, Soccer gegen den Muslim auf Metalopolis. Und es war schon irgendwie ziemlich überraschend für mich, was man in dem Spiel alles machen kann. Ich war mit meinem Abi fertig in 2012, wusste ja nicht so ganz genau, was ich machen will. Will ich studieren, will ich irgendwo Ausbildung machen? Und dann habe ich eben einfach StarCraft gespielt. Irgendwann war ich dann auf einem Level, wo ich einmal so kleinere Cups gewonnen habe. Und irgendwann kam dann eben ein Team auf mich zu, so hat es angefangen. In 2014 habe ich die EPS eigentlich ziemlich dominiert. 3-mal ins Finale gekommen, konnte 2-mal gewinnen. Und das hat mir damals extrem geholfen. Gerade in den ersten 2 Jahren oder so habe ich immer mir mega viel Druck gemacht, weil ich eben wusste, dass es wirklich gut war. Wenn man so viel trainiert, dann ist es immer ziemlich schade, wenn man dann underperformt.
Tobias ist beim Spiel angespannt, aber er ist sehr fokussiert auf das, was er macht, und er will das dann auch durchziehen. Also ich hätte ihm das früher nie zugetraut. Also ich bewundere ihn da wirklich, auch die Interviews, und also ich bin immer ganz fasziniert von ihm, wie er das macht.
Meine Eltern waren schon von Anfang an immer, wenn ich ein gutes Event hatte, haben mich angerufen, oder Tante und so weiter, oder Cousins sind mittlerweile ziemlich dabei auch und schauen jedes Match an und sind eben einfach wirklich happy, wenn ich irgendwie eine gute Leistung bringe. Mein stolzester Moment war auf jeden Fall der Sieg in Tours vom WCS Spring Final, weil es eben einfach ein Riesenturnier war. Auch im Finale gegen Nurture war super, super knapp und irgendwie konnte ich dann mit ein bisschen Glück gewinnen. Und ich weiß auch nicht, ich war einfach mega happy in dem Moment und ich konnte eigentlich keinen klaren Gedanken fassen.
Gerade bei der WCS, als mein Bruder gespielt hat und im Finale war, da saßen wir eben alle auf dem Sofa, haben mit Herzklopfen zugeschaut und wir waren alle ziemlich angespannt.
Wir haben uns unwahrscheinlich gefreut, dass er das geschafft hat, wo er jetzt die ganze Zeit darauf hinarbeitet. Wenn ich dann sehe, wie er schnell arbeiten muss, wie anstrengend es ist, wenn er dann zwischen den Bildschirmen hin und her schaltet. Das ist, also ich habe echt Respekt vor ihm, wie er das kann.
Ich habe schon immer Videospiele gemacht und von daher ist es eigentlich ein Traumjob für mich. Und generell, ich meine, ich kenne so viele Leute aus verschiedenen Ländern mittlerweile. Also ich trainiere fast den ganzen Tag und alles, was ich mache, ist irgendwie nur dazu da, um besser StarCraft zu spielen. StarCraft 2 ist mittlerweile eigentlich mein ganzes Leben.
Welcome back, everybody, to the WCS Global Finals. The first quarterfinal is just around the corner. We heard a little bit about ShoWTimE's story there. A guy from a small town in Germany, Utisheim. Kev, how's my pronunciation? Oh, wow. I know you know a little bit more German than I do.
Well, it's such a small town that even I have never heard of it, Sean, but I'm sure it sounded very German to me, so I think you did good.
Utisheim.
ShoWTimE's had an interesting year, I'd like to say here, because he started up the year as one of the Protosses that was rising to the top of the European scene, and he has taken that spot.
Yep, I mean, he got unlucky, right, at the first big season championships. In the very first round, he went up against Nurture. A lot of people said, that's so wrong, that could have been the final. Well, this time, those people were right, because in season 2, you know, that awesome tournament in Tours, DreamHack, that's where it actually was the final, because Nurture and ShoWTimE were on opposite sides of the bracket. And Sean, that was one of my favorite finals of the year. That first game, it looked like we were watching an animation trailer. It's like Nidus, Run By, Hydra, Lurkus. It was so cool.
And that's when I think ShoWTimE should have been arrested for theft, because Nurture looked unbeatable in that tournament. And everyone was like, Nurture, Nurture, Nurture. And then ShoWTimE just silently came in. Great finals, but wins.
And I was about to say, Dan, that's when he really started to impress you, I think. I mean, he'd obviously been a name that you knew about, but when he played that finals against Nurture, and things only got better and better as we've moved to where we are now.
I had Nurture-shaped glasses on for that tournament, as Jeff was saying. You know, it was just like every game Nurture played, I'm like, this guy's a Codes Zerg, this guy's one of the best Zergs in the world for sure. It was so obvious in his clean play, and then to have ShoWTimE pull that out, and he's continued those great results throughout the year. And I mean, we talked about him quite a bit in the pre-show, where it's like, this is the guy that looks the best right now. He had the cleanest games. He destroyed multiple Korean champions. And here he is as a top seed going into this round of 8.
But there is always a but, Sean.
And what's that but, Kev?
And that's the fact we haven't seen his Protoss versus Zerg yet. And he even tweeted himself, I think it was last night, they were actually having some pretty fun banter, all the Europeans among each other. He's like, yeah, it's fantastic that I'm in the quarterfinals, but this is actually going to be my toughest challenge so far, and nobody will believe that. But in some ways it is like that, as you know, not too long ago, ShoWTimE went up against Elazer in a WESG qualifier, offline, $3,000 on the line in Ukraine. 3-0 Elazer. I've watched the games again as well. I was testing them back then, and the game, it was an interesting best of 5 because 3-0 can go play out in so many ways, right? It can be a brutal beatdown, or it can be like, I don't think you had to lose this game, and I really don't think you had to lose that game. And that's kind of the series it was, but 3-0 is still 3-0. So
I mean, that leads nicely into Elazer, who isn't really a player that you look at the WCS Global Finals, because he did come in a player that, if everyone had been in the tournament, he wasn't meant to play here. He came in because of the switch up with the rankings, and he's a player that you don't look at and say, well, yeah, he's going to get top 8, he's going to get top 4, he's going to win the tournament.
Something happened with Elazer. There's some Buddha belly that he rubbed. There's some magical fairy that visited him at night. I don't know, because he came in on a, like, he's swapped in. He's a replacement player. In his group, everyone's like, well, I can see you taking last for sure. Himself saying that, makes it out of his group. And who does he get of these other 7 guys that he could face? Not one of the 2 Terrans that would easily swat him, but the guy he already 3-0'd 2 weeks prior. It's like, you're on the sickest run of luck right now. Go buy a lottery ticket. But also, he deserves it. He beats Nurchio, one of his old nemesis that have stopped him as a fellow countryman from getting more prestige and more accolades. And he also overcomes Solar, a GSL champion. Like, these are good results. They are incredible. I think we, rightfully so, aren't looking too much at him versus TY, and we're thankful that we're not seeing that in the round of 8, because that'd be a bad.
I mean, his results are impressive, but are they not a little bit polarized here, because they are only against Zerg opponents so far in the tournament?
Yeah, I mean, he's only played Zergs in the tournament because that's what he's been up against. But we know that his ZVP is extremely good, and you know, I think that this is, like, we have to take ShoWTimE's word for it that this is his hardest match. And it's funny because we keep talking about the crazy champions he beat, but once we saw how he beat him, it's like, oh yeah, I guess your 2 other matchups are so good that this is probably your hardest match, because that your PvZ can't be as good as your PvP and your PvT. You know, that would be impossible.
Yeah.
But like Elazer also, like, I was talking to some of the pro gamers out back there practicing, and I heard some rumors of Elazer practicing against some top Korean Protosses and them quitting after being 2-0'd.
You know what's crazy too, on that point? In a weird way, for the first time, there's actually pressure on Elazer. Kevin was talking about this yesterday while we were doing rehearsals, but it's like, with every other match, he's like, all right, if I lose here, everyone understands. I'm just happy to be here for the free trip. But now all of a sudden he's like, wait, it's the round of 8 and I have a very beatable opponent for me? Oh my God, I have to do it now. And that's actually a weird form of pressure. If he was facing like a Dark or, you know, Zest or something, he'd be like, okay, if I lose here, that's what everyone expects. But against ShoWTimE, there's a lot of people that know the scene that are saying, actually, Elazer, you should probably win this.
Yep, after he advanced from his group, he was obviously on cloud 9, he was all smiles, and I was talking with him a little bit. This was before the bracket drawing, and he's like, Roddy, if I avoid a Terran, he's like, I really think I can make top 4. I was like, well, mate, you actually can't run into a Terran because TY is in your group, and you're a 2nd place finisher, just like Beyond. And he looks at me, he's like, really? I was like, yeah. He's like, oh my God, like his face just like, he was already smiling and he just like went into overgear smile. He was nothing but smile. So there is a little bit of pressure in him, even though a lot of people that will probably look at this tournament and be like, I mean, that's fantastic. You made it to the final 8, the WCS Global Playoffs. No, that's not fantastic right now. Like if you're this close, you want more. And he knows that he's capable of more right now.
All right, let's get some predictions going then. So who's going to be the first semi-finalist?
Start with Dan.
WCS Global Finals
Do the
2016.
TY. No? Okay. No. Okay, this is a really hard one, I think, because I just can't be surprised anymore with how well ShoWTimE will play. So maybe he'll just crush Elazer, and I'll be like, okay, yeah, cool. But from what I've been hearing in that back room and what I've seen of Elazer, I think he actually can pull it out. Although I think no matter what, it'll be close, like a 3-1 or a 3-2. That's pretty close.
I think I'm leaning towards a 3-2 for ShoWTimE this time, just because I think ShoWTimE got a lot of momentum from that amazing group stage, and I think that the stars will align for the German Protoss to get the job done this time, but this is a very, very tough match for him.
The just diehard StarCraft fan in me really, like, I'm super proud and happy for Elazer, and it's really cool, but the prospect of him facing a Terran in the finals and it being as one-sided as we saw in group stage has me terrified of a bad BlizzCon final. So I want ShoWTimE to win, but I actually have to agree with Kevin, or Dan, excuse me. I think it actually is Elazer's time to go into the round of 4. I can see it.
All right, well, thank you very much, gentlemen. I hope you're ready at home. I hope you're ready here at BlizzCon as well, because the first quarterfinal is coming up.
The 2016 World Championship Series Global Finals is brought to you by Intel, T-Mobile, NVIDIA, and Republic of Gamers.
Welcome back, everybody, to the WCS Global Finals. It is finally time to introduce the players for our first quarterfinal match of the day. Our first player is a German Protoss who stunned everyone last week, taking down GSL champions Deer and Björn, while facing him is a Polish Zerg who had a major upset over SSL champion Solar and fellow countryman Nurchio. Everyone, please give it up for ShoWTimE and Elazer!
15-year-old Maynard. That's what I look like, man. Just playing Quake in my game. The two remaining European players are about to face off. And they have caused some upsets to be here, but I can say beyond a shadow of doubt that they deserve to be here. Ladies and gentlemen, fans around the world watching from home, all of you out there in the BlizzCon arena, welcome back to the WCS Global Finals!
And what a series it is to start us off here. ShoWTimE, the big surprise player here, came through as one of the absolute favorites from the European scene, but showing a form that no one expected, just blazing through that group stage. But now, a surprising challenger here in the form of Elazer. The young gun barely squeaked through to the round of 16 and then actually made it through with a blazing victory over Solar and Nurture, which no one expected. This is going to be a really killer match.
Yeah, absolutely. Two upset causes. I mean, obviously ShoWTimE with the biggest upset that we've seen in a long time. 2-0ing Björn in the round of 16. But they bring up a good point on the couch. We've seen he's PvT. We've seen he's PvP. But how's his PvZ? That's the question that's about to be answered here today.
And that's a question which he's going to have to answer with a very strong answer. Elazer has come in here with so much confidence in that back room. He has been saying he is feeling so good in this matchup.
Absolutely, guys. Let's get into game number one. It is going to be on Frozen Temple. And here we go. Game number 1, guys. Make some noise. In the bottom right here, from Germany, this is ShoWTimE. And in the top left, hailing from Poland, make some noise for Elazer!
Elazer is coming into this with that fresh, young confidence that he's known for. He first kind of blazed onto the scene late last year, really, when he finally kind of came onto this international stage. And the one defining characteristic I always think of when I look at this guy is he seems kind of impetuous. He's got that young, youthful arrogance about him, but it's a strong confidence which really carries him through to some amazing victories. And it's something which really stands out and makes him such a challenging player to go up against.
Absolutely. I mean, we had the benefit of being able to talk to him a little bit yesterday while we were looking at his games, and we know that he looks very, very highly up to Dark, the scary, scary Korean Zerg, who we're going to be seeing later today in the quarterfinals. He loves that multi-prong harassment. He loves Ling Bane dropping. He loves just being all in the face of ShoWTimE. And ShoWTimE is that Protoss that takes after Rain. He has that macro, safe style, double forge. He likes to go for the late game. He likes to get as much income into the very, very late game, tier 3 units. But I have a feeling that Elazer is going to try and stop him from getting anywhere near that.
And you know what, we've already seen Elazer showing this very unique style he's been doing recently. He loves to go for that fast gas and pool opening before expanding. Really, his entire style cuts a lot of economy to get out a lot of, map control with the early Zergling speed. He gets the Overlord speed almost every game. He's got like really great scouting, but he doesn't have that large an economy. So really his style is based around just shutting down anything the Protoss player can do to make him uncomfortable. And whilst a lot of Zergs would be uncomfortable with this having less drones out, Elazer just then looks to explode into that mid-game. As you said, Baneling drops all over the place, Zerglings running into the mineral lines. And even Elazer himself, I was talking to him, I was saying, how do you feel a Protoss player should play against your style? And he said, well, technically, if they just defend really well, I think they can hold on, but no one's defending well. He's like, man, I just feel so good. I do not lose this matchup right now.
Yeah, and actually back in the day, like not too long ago, they faced off in the WESG European qualifiers. And of course, we know the story. Elazer getting a 3-0 victory over ShoWTimE there. But he did mention that he does play a lot differently these days to back then.
Yeah, Elazer has really evolved as a player, but so has ShoWTimE. ShoWTimE has been changing up his style a lot lately, showing a lot of Phoenix play in the past, but there's been a big meta shift away from that. What I really want to see out of ShoWTimE here today against Elazer's style is a lot of those DT pressure into that Archon, double Archon Warp Prism pressure. That harassment has just been absolutely destroying Zerg players. It's kind of like risk-free, harassment damage using that ranged pickup on the Warp Prism, and I'd really love to see for him to go for that fast Dark Shrine and robotics in the next couple minutes.
Yeah, I'm kind of expecting it, really, just assuming that there's going to be one shortly. You see that the Elazer does have to get this Overlord speed, seeing what's going on. He's getting a good look in ShoWTimE's main here, seeing what's being dropped. Obviously no critical tech just yet, but you bring up a great point about the Prism Archon drop that's in the PvZ meta right now. It's one of those things that's incredibly hard to stop, but if you stop it, you're left with a situation where you're so far ahead as the Zerg.
Absolutely, and ShoWTimE here, it's an uncomfortable feeling being this guy who's got these overlords just seeing everything you do. There are absolutely no secrets here. Elazer sees exactly what's going on, so ShoWTimE has to be rock solid. And on the other side, ShoWTimE, he doesn't get that much vision. Just due to the nature of Protoss in this early stage, he's got to try and use these Adept Shades to get a little bit of vision. He has no idea if Elazer's going to throw a huge attack at him or not.
Yeah, he's checking that grass every few seconds, and then, and fair enough too, because we know that Elazer does like to have some units on standby, and we can see that with the Evo Chamber going down, and also the Baneling Nest going down, he is ready. He has the tech to be able to start drop play. Can't see any Zerglings across the map just yet.
He's starting up production a little bit, and that's a very fast melee upgrade, so no roaches whatsoever. It's going to be a lot of the Ling Bane focus here. I mean, Adepts do very well versus Ling Bane in small numbers. They just can't let the Banelings connect on them when they're all clumped up. ShoWTimE's going to come in here and start poking around, but looks like Elazer's very well prepared for that.
Yeah, he's not going to finish that shade off into the third there of Elazer. He's got a lot of Zergs and Banelings there. He does not want to engage that. Could go terribly for ShoWTimE. Obviously losing his Adepts going to put him in a pretty terrible spot in the early games. He tries to get his third Nexus up here. And That's just about to finish here, and there's the robotics facility that we expected to see. Overlord getting one more look in here. Twilight counts just at the back as well.
And this is really smart from ShoWTimE. 2 Stalkers in the main base. We're talking about those Ling Baneling drops. He's just going to leave those in the main base to shut down any drops. And look, Elazer's already splitting off Zerglings to get ready for some counterattacks. Actually, a lot of Zerglings making their way across the map, looking like he's going to maybe try and find some damage behind that. He is droning up, trying to catch up in that worker count. As so far, ShoWTimE, he hasn't done any damage, but he's ahead in workers. He's playing a very strong economic style with that fast third base.
Yeah, and apart from the Overlords, oh, nice catch here with the Zerglings of Elazer. Those adepts are going down. They're not shading away. So that's a nice little pick off there. Not critical, but a nice little bit of damage. He's taking his 4th hatchery here on the other side. So, yeah, still no drop play or anything yet, but we see that the first Dropper Lord is morphing here, just to the north of the 3rd.
A lot of respect from both players, neither wanting to overcommit into the other's defense and both being very careful. And this is a very cute move we've seen lately. The empty drop Overlord coming in, trying to force an overreaction, trying to force those probes to run away from the minerals. Of course, fearing Baneling's going to be dropping out of that. We're going to have to see, does ShoWTimE take the bait? Does he run those probes away?
He does.
Yep. And this is...
he forces an overcharge as well for an empty Overlord. Mind games here from the Polish Zerg.
And look how much mining time is being lost. Oh, this is such a great maneuver. You know, it only costs 25 minerals and 25 gas, and the 3rd base actually trying to avoid some Zerglings running in as well, I think.
That's actually an insane amount of mining time that he just denied there for no investment whatsoever. And here we go. ShoWTimE going for some counter drop here, just at a Warp Prism full of adepts. He sees the 4th hatchery. He could put some pressure on here if he decides. Could go for some deeper and juicier territory, though.
Yeah, right now the players are tied neck and neck in supply, in workers, in army. Everything is looking very even in this game. But now, as ShoWTimE starts to use this Warp Prism, he might be able to edge out a small advantage. Does focus down 2 drones, picks up those adepts, and gets on out of there. Very nice play.
Indeed, the Baneling's coming up to join the party a little bit late as well. These Queens looking to shut down the Prism, do some damage as they fly past this 4th hatchery here.
You can't afford to lose that. That's, just barely gets out of there, but he's going to have to leave a few of those adepts behind, potentially.
Yeah, they're in a spot of bother. The Prism comes back, but the Queen's just out of range there. Does live with 12 shields and 11 health, and that's a hot pickup there for ShoWTimE.
These little adjustments from Elazer, you know, he plays just a little bit queen heavier because he never wants to build that spire. He doesn't want to waste money on Mutalisks. He really wants to focus on just Ling, Bane, lots of workers, and some Ravagers in the mix. So having a few queens there to shut down that Warp Prism really helps make his economy a lot more safe and more comfortable. But ShoWTimE continues to poke in here.
Yeah, he was doing this WESG games, just sending 2 adepts every now and then, just into a drone line, getting... That's 4 drones for 2 adepts there. It's a nice little pick up there at the 4th. And we see that Elazer has a mana Baneling there, just sort of sitting down waiting for any kind of expansion. And a huge cluster of Zerglings here heading from the north.
Something really cool on the production tab. We are seeing the Templar Archives just finished, and Plasma Shields has actually started up after +1 attack. He's going to go for a big Archon count. I think ShoWTimE might skip Storm, get a lot of Archons, and just look to overwhelm. Of course, Zerglings and Banelings not very effective against those Archons with their massive splash damage.
Yeah, we saw it plenty in the round of 16, that Archon unit composition against the Zergs, because they love to go Lings and Banes with a lot of Ravagers as well, and they do so well.
Banelings in the 3rd.
There at the 3rd, getting 5 probes though. Not the hugest connections. 4 more left in this Overlord.
Elazer looks like he's looking for an opening right now. He's got a big army supply lead. That is a lot of Ravagers and Zerglings, and the wall's open!
The door is open, he's just knocking it. No reaction there from ShoWTimE. He's coming a little bit late to the party. The Archon's leading the charge with the Immortals in the back. Very scary there for the Ravagers. They do pull out. Oh, the Overlord gets picked up, only dropping 1 Baneling. Nice defense there for ShoWTimE, but the Natural is still under siege.
ShoWTimE actually has cannons in every mineral line. He's got units warping in. Somehow he is not losing a single probe in the midst of this. Actually a fantastic defense from what looked like a horrible situation, but Zerglings dive into that 3rd, managed to catch a few probes. Elazer getting something here, but at the end of that, ShoWTimE actually stabilizes quite well.
You're absolutely right. That was wow, this is a bold morph right in front of ShoWTimE's face. But yeah, he'll be picking those off. Those Zealots, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. See you later, Banelings. But yeah, you're absolutely right. That was a huge investment there from Elazer during that attack, and only getting a cluster of probes there, not a big deal.
This is nice, though. Going to deny that 4th once more, and Elazer is up on 4 bases. He can easily secure a 5th behind this, and as we see in Legacy of the Void, the minerals mine out quite a bit faster. So as time goes on, if ShoWTimE can't secure that 4th base, his economy is starting to dip. We're seeing that in that minerals down in the bottom of your screen. You can see 1,000 more minerals a minute right now for Elazer, which means he can just pump out masses of Ling Bane. The longer this goes without ShoWTimE getting a fourth, the more it is going to rely on just one big Archon push, and he's going to have no follow-up behind that.
He's been ahead on a base for a while, and here's the Darkspell, setting some Banelings in while pressuring with the army. Most of the army here down at that fourth Nexus trying to secure it. Meanwhile, he's wanting some Banelings in, but this is a bold move here from Elazer. ShoWTimE looks like he has enough. Oh, actually getting 5 probes there. Didn't expect that. I thought he was going to get all of them.
Yeah, good reaction, though, by ShoWTimE to be so quick on this. These constant run-bys from Elazer are really putting the pressure on it. Look at this cute corrosive bile harassment, just picking away at the pylons, picking away at the Nexus. It's actually only one set of biles away from going down. And that's making things very uncomfortable for ShoWTimE. But look at ShoWTimE's supply. He's getting close to max. He's got +1 shields finished on those Archons. His Archon count is getting out of control right now. And once he's maxed out on those, Elazer has no Hive tech. He's only just started the Hive and the Spire now. There's no Ultralisks, there's no Broodlords for a long time in this game.
The harassment's been going a lot better for ShoWTimE than for Elazer in this game. He hasn't got that critical harassment that he's been charging ahead with so well with his Baneling run-bys in his games. But ShoWTimE's just locked down real tight here. He hasn't got an opening for the Polar Zerg. This Port Prism again is in a low spot, and this time with a lot less hit points.
Yeah, Lasers really committed strongly to this mid game, but as you said there, Maynard, he hasn't found the damage yet, and that ShoWTimE has just been running a masterclass on defense here. Cannons in every mineral line, his army pre-spread up here to minimize the effect of Banelings, zoning out these Ravagers, and I think ShoWTimE's almost ready to start pushing as well. I mean, that's a big Zerg army, but look at that number of Archons, Maynard.
Whoa, man. That's a lot of Archons there. We've got 11 on the dance floor right now, and they are ready to tank those Zerglings and Banelings. And that is the majority of Elazer's army. He's not even maxed just yet. He's just about there, but his army is very, very weak versus this composition of ShoWTimE. Look at that Protoss army! And he's heading towards that 4th hatchery pig.
Those Banelings are going to need to find the hits on those Zealots and try to get some of the clumped up Archons, but those Ravagers are so important, he can't let those go down.
Does pick one up there with the Arc on the front. The Banelings are rolling in. ShoWTimE hasn't split his army too well here. He's actually just taking so many Banelings.
Gosh, those Archons just do not die. They ignore those Banelings. There's still more left, though. Elazer has so many units. Almost all the Archons are gone, and there's still Banelings left over. Elazer, is he actually managing to hold on?
Reinforcements here. The defender's advantage for the Zerg. Coming in clutch and cleaning up those Archons. Will the Zerglings and the Ravagers do the rest? It looks like they will. The deflecting ShoWTimE for now. The hatchery lives. A big trade there for Elazer. Up 50 supply.
That is massive. Elazer actually manages to hang on, and with that delayed 4th base, it's so hard for ShoWTimE to reinforce now. Losing that critical mass of Archons and lacking that Storm Tech that can carry him through to the later stages. Now ShoWTimE just needs to knuckle down and try to defend and hang on.
Getting an Immortal there for free with those Ravagers. He's going to pull them back on the creep so they can run away. That is still a decent force.
What is he doing out here? ShoWTimE! These units are out in the middle of nowhere. They need more support. The Archons are coming to reinforce, but that's a lot of Zerglings.
That's a lot of Lings. They're also going to have Adrenal soon. Ravager Bile's going to get them locked in. The Biles have done it. They've just completely wrapped around. First person here for Elazer. The Corruptors.
Oh, wow. Morphing Broodlords in the middle of the map.
He's so confident. He knows he's in a beautiful spot right now.
And just zooming around, keeping on top of his macro tasks of rare insight into the first-person view of this player. And I think he's going to come in for the overwhelming blow in the near future. Of course, keep in mind, he's still only up about 30 supply. That was a lot of Banelings he threw away. But if ShoWTimE can hang on to this 4th, maybe he has a chance. But with Broodlords morphing, I just don't see how he can answer this composition from Elazer.
He's got +2 attack on those Zerglings. They have Adrenal now. And yes, the Broodlords are here. There's no anti-air except for Stalkers for ShoWTimE. He doesn't have the critical Tempest that you need to kill those Broodlords. It's going to be a tough ask for him to deal with those.
Oh, those Broodlings starting to pick away at this base. ShoWTimE, if he loses this, has next to no mining, and actually he says, I can't fight this. I can't fight Broodlords. He's rotating on the south side of the map, but oh no, another Warp Prism. He needs to keep that alive. That's his only reinforcement point over here.
The Corruptors are on the chase. They have the drop. The Archons coming in to reinforce. They're going to try and cancel this hatchery from Elazer. Looks like they will. A nice pick up there from ShoWTimE. He's got a lot more work ahead of him if he wants to beat Elazer back, though. Zealots leading the charge against the Zergling Baneling force. The Broodlords coming in to help as well on the right. He needs to be careful not to lose those Broodlords, though.
He's got some Stalkers coming in, but Blink is only about halfway done here. ShoWTimE, knowing he doesn't have the money to go up to Tempests or Void Rays or anything like that, he's got to use the basic gateway army that he has. So he's saying Archons to clean up the Lings and Banelings and the Broodlings, and Stalkers to blink forward and focus those Broodlords down. However, when you're blinking into the middle of +3 Adrenal Zerglings, it's usually a pretty hard ask for the Protoss to win that situation. ShoWTimE is going to need to keep buying time and keep hunting for that perfect engagement.
Absolutely. We got Elazer posturing on the left with a big, scary ball of Zerglings on the right, ready to split ShoWTimE's attention. This Observer being very critical for ShoWTimE, seeing all the reinforcements of Elazer there at the top, and the Banelings rolling in as well. The Zealots tanking them, and there's the overcharges. Banelings doing nothing, and Archon helping as well, shooing away the Zerglings again.
You know, it looks like Elazer's just throwing away banelings with these attacks, but you got to keep in mind just how much attention this takes away from ShoWTimE. And then once in a while, he's not looking, and suddenly a whole clump of probes go down, and that's what makes all of those baneling run-bys worthwhile. Another Zergling run-bys coming in from two sides at once. Elazer just showcasing those fast hands he has, able to multitask so well.
Yeah, we saw in first person how fast this kid is. Wrapping around that one Archon's going to be a very nice pickoff, actually. And he can actually pull out. I don't know if he can damage this board. He is going to try, though. Still some overcharge left those pylons. March, of course, just about out of that energy. So, but there's too much Protoss. The cannon making things a little bit awkward. ShoWTimE takes a 5th Nexus here on the south.
If he can secure that, then, you know, maybe things will look okay, but I think Elazer here is playing very smart, just adding to his Broodlord count, saying, you know what, you've only got a 4th base, I'm going up to a 5th base, I don't think you can afford the counter to these Broodlords. I know you're sticking on Stalkers, and what you want is a good engagement. You want me to attack with a small army, be able to kind of dive on the Broodlords when they don't have enough support and focus them down, but I don't think he wants to give ShoWTimE that opportunity.
A big contingent of the Broodlords, in fact, most of them are heading towards that 4th Nexus of ShoWTimE here. They have some Zerglings underneath. ShoWTimE gets onto those Broodlords. He might be able to pick them off. He pretty much only has Blink Stalkers for anti-air here with the Archons.
Nice harassment here, and ShoWTimE just was not confident to push on that left-hand side of the map, so he's rotating his entire army back, and he's got Storm on the way now as well, so it looks like he's going to be trying to add Storm into this composition. I think he might just have to abandon this base. Yeah, we see him pull all of the probes away. He knows he can't take this fight here, and I mean, it's so impressive how patient ShoWTimE is. Any other player would have tried to save that base, taken a bad fight, and it would be game over. But ShoWTimE is steadily closing that supply gap, and even though his army is much lower quality, if he can add Storms in, they potentially could just blast the Ling Baneling support to pieces, and maybe that'll give him the chance for the Blink Stalkers to focus those Broodlords down.
Just a couple Templar here with the ability to Storm. He is reinforcing ShoWTimE on the left there towards Elazer's creep spread, and taking out that fourth Nexus. Look at the income difference between the two players there at the bottom of your screen. Huge in favor there for the Zerg, and he's trying to break this natural here. The Broodlord's actually going to make this a possibility for Elazer as he starts to siege on here.
And ShoWTimE's actually coming home.
He's completely out of position. His army is all the way out here.
Oh no, this is a great decisive move here from Elazer. He's bleeding off a lot of Zerglings, but he can afford to replace those. And the Zerglings have broken in right now. That last Sentry and Zealot are going down. This is ShoWTimE's last chance. He needs to defend right here, right now.
Yeah, if he loses another base, it is going to be all over for the German Protoss for game number 1. Elazer's in a lovely spot here, morphing some more Banelings on the top for those juicy Stalkers, and they are going to roll in. They just flush forward. Storm going down for the Elazer on the Broodlord, though.
The Archon's actually doing a good job, but almost all of the Stalkers have gone down. The Ravagers are still standing strong. The Corrosive Vials forcing those blinks, and so many Broodlords from the left-hand side, Maynard.
Broodlords to the left. This reinforcement couldn't come at a better time for Elazer. He still looks amazing, and ShoWTimE is bleeding units here, Pig. He is in so much trouble.
This is just an incredible masterclass in Zerg vs Protoss from Elazer. So powerful and patient in that mid-game, constantly attacking with those small run-bys, finding those little pieces of damage, holds on to ShoWTimE's one big attack, and from there he has just been dominating the rest of the game, using these Broodlords so patiently. Finally, picks his moment, goes in and takes the game.
GG. Elazer taking game 1 in this series against the incredibly hard-working German Protoss ShoWTimE. What an explosive way to start that first game. That crowd starting to fill out there in the Anaheim Arena. Look at all you beautiful StarCraft fans. Hope you guys enjoyed that game. We cannot wait for game number 2.
That was so impressive. I mean, really, I thought when you see 12 Archons with shield upgrades and so many units behind them, you think, you know, how do you engage this? But really, the key to Elazer's success throughout that entire game was the details with his micro. The Ravagers kept on landing those Corrosive Vials on those slow Archons, which couldn't maneuver very well. He kept poking in, poking out, sending in those small waves of Banelings. All of the charge lots were almost completely useless at the back of that force.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, when we saw in that game, you mentioned that Elazer said that he actually fears someone that can defend very, very well. That is the counter to his style. And ShoWTimE did defend very, very well, but Elazer just kept hammering him. He eventually cracked the nut and he got right in there. And he just, I mean, if ShoWTimE can't defend and he can't manage to hold on against Elazer in these games, it's going to start looking pretty similar in game 2 and 3, I feel.
You know, these sort of games do rest on a knife's edge, and if there's one thing I'd have to identify as ShoWTimE is that point where things maybe went a little bit wrong for him. It was when that natural wall didn't have a unit in it, and even though he didn't lose a lot of probes, it gave Elazer position. Remember, all those lings flooded into the main in the natural, and then he was able to deny the fourth base, and it was about 2 or 3 minutes really before ShoWTimE really stabilized and established that fourth base, and that delay might not seem like a lot, but during that whole time, he's got a lot of probes in his main, which have run out of mineral patches to mine from, probes in his natural running out of mineral patches, and that's a lot of lost income. A couple thousand more minerals and gas in there could have completely changed the outcome of that game.
Yeah, Elazer really dictating the pace there. ShoWTimE trying out some harassment of his own, but not managing to get critical kills there. And he was doing such a good job for probably the first 10, 15 minutes of the game, but then when it hit that late game, those Broodlords, Elazer, I mean, he's not just an aggressive early game guy, man. We just saw him play the late game and play it extremely well.
It's
scary,
really, it's so cool when you see a player able to shift gears like that. He's just like, you know, I'm being crazy aggressive, I'm attacking, I'm counterattacking. The moment he started making Broodlords, he started to take it a bit slower. He recognized that his army kind of needs a lot of pieces to support each other. It becomes very technical. You can't just attack with a few Broodlords, and he really switched gears very well, didn't get over-eager, and patiently closed out that advantage.
Very, very well played, and definitely seeing Shadows of Dark, who we'll be seeing next in the quarterfinals as well, against the American Protoss Neeb.
Such a cool couple matches to start off.
Oh, dude.
I feel like they're kind of reflections of each other as well. Like, you've got 2 defensive Protoss versus 2 very aggressive Zergs. One's the Korean Zerg, one's the Polish Zerg. And, you know, it's really that question of, can the Protoss players hang on against this madness? For a long time, the Zerg players were saying, you know, it's so hard to break this Protoss nut. But recently, these 2 Zerg players, especially Elazer and Dark, they seem to have just found a way.
Yeah, they've been doing a great job. They've really sort of pioneered that leading into the new meta with that mass Ling Bane sort of style, which Protoss had to react to by using Archons, well, lots and lots of Archons as the backbone of their army, and also the Warp Prism Archon harassment, which came out of Korea as well as a counter to that style. But Zergs, it's just flipping side to side. It's just great to see StarCraft sort of change and unfold before your very eyes. The players just figuring the game out as time goes forward. It's so beautiful.
StarCraft really is that endless place where you can constantly choose limitless choices, the way the units move, the way they interact in micro. There's always so many solutions to every single problem.
All right, guys, we are ready for game number 2. It is going to be on King Sejong Station. Get ready, guys. All you StarCraft fans out there, make some love, send some love to your favorite player, and let's get amongst it. In the bottom right here, hailing from Germany, the Protoss player, this is ShoWTimE! And in the top left, winning the first map of the series, this is Elazer! I love this stage, man. This is my second BlizzCon, and I've seen many from home. This stage is the coolest thing I've seen. It's the most prestigious and most incredible stage in StarCraft.
We're going to have to see if it's going to be Zerg creeping all over it at the end, or the Protoss kind of spreading those pylons everywhere. And this map specifically is one which definitely has got to bring back some echoes for both of these players. This was the final game in the last tournament match they played against each other. And I think the big thing we saw there, and something ShoWTimE has been speaking publicly about, is that he used to be one of these very calm players who doesn't get excited, but recently he did have some issues where he was getting angry, he was getting a bit tilted in his games, and he was kind of losing that patience which gave him so much success before. So I really like to see him in that booth after that game 1, just looking very calm and focused. He looks like he's got everything together right now. He knows how important this match is.
Now, I want to see if ShoWTimE scouted this third hatchery, well, the third hatchery location, but he did scout it. Okay, this is something that Elazer tried to pull out. Is very, very cheeky in a series we saw earlier, where he actually fakes a third hatchery and, hides a third hatchery and then goes for a big Ling Ravager all-in into the natural before the Protoss gets his third Nexus. It seemed like he was attempted that, but with ShoWTimE scouting it, that's going to have to change his gears a little bit.
Yeah, there's still a lot of cheeky options he can throw off this, and that's part of the strength of Elazer's opening. You know, not only is it so safe getting out that fast gas and pool, having these early Zerglings to shut down the Protoss vision and really keep him in the dark, but he does have some very powerful, aggressive, all-in attacks that he can throw off this. So ShoWTimE really has to be worried constantly about what is Elazer going to choose to do in this game. And lately, Elazer's been playing very macro-oriented. He really is going for those mid to late game plays, but I mean, especially here in a best of 5 on this stage, this is the time where you do want to pull out at least one cheeky build.
Yeah, and Elazer is the kid to throw out those cheeky builds as well. And ShoWTimE in position just to delay that third hatchery here for Elazer. Two Lings will sort that probe out, but he
noticed that
dancing a little bit.
Drone actually hit on top of the ramp because he didn't want the probe to see that he is going for that third. He wants to keep ShoWTimE guessing about the possibility of there being no expansion there. But ShoWTimE gets the vision, sees it is 3 base. He's got to feel quite comfortable with that. And it is going to be that standard build-up. Overlord speed on the way for Elazer. But ShoWTimE changing things up a little bit, going for quite a fast robotics after his Twilight Council. So I really think this time we're going to see that Archon drop, and that is exactly what I've been really wanting out of ShoWTimE. I feel like that's going to give him much more pressure and damage potential than the Adept pressure.
Yeah, there's that Dark Shrine. Going down now, confirming that the Archon Prism harassment is about to go down, and Elazer just hasn't been able to hold any secrets from ShoWTimE. He's been scouting extremely well. That Adept Shade coming in to see that third hatchery. He knows exactly what he's up against. And Elazer, just with that Overlord, sees the front wall here, and probably seeing that robotics, knows what he's about to face.
Absolutely. It's kind of funny because I'm sure a lot of Protoss players who are playing in Wings of Liberty and Heart of the Swarm, they look at this picture and they think, this is insane. If the Zerg sees the Dark Shrine, surely that means that, you know, this is really bad, right? But actually, with the way Protoss plays out, especially in this matchup in Legacy of the Void, it's completely fine for that to be spotted. The Zerg's invested a lot to scout that, and wow, this is actually going to be coming in here, maybe getting some good damage.
Oh my god, the Lings got right into the main here, and Overlord drop being really, really nice for Elazer here. He was hidden in the dark, and he's already got 4 probe kills here, 5 probe kills.
Wow, that is massive right now. Such a fast Zergling drop, completely catching ShoWTimE unawares.
Getting probe kills and evacuating the main completely. Overcharge goes down, but he can just pick them up and drop them off. Easy. There it is.
So much lost mining
Only lost
time.
2 Lings for 5 probes and mining time.
Gosh, the mining time is massive there. That is huge, and he can just continue to dance around.
Still in the dark.
No Stalker out. Oh, if he's going to get even more probes, this is massive. Good pullbacks on those weakened probes from ShoWTimE, but this is just free damage for Elazer, and really, the real strength of this is the freedom. Back at home, Elazer's getting out some delayed roaches, a couple spore crawlers, but he's got a very healthy drone count. He's looking very confident.
Just warping in some DTs here. There is a spore crawler for detection.
Great
getting
hold
quite
position
low.
micro, though. Those drones blocking the Dark Templar, not letting them focus down that spore crawler. Keep in mind, there's no lair for Elazer. If he loses that detection, that spore crawler, he has no way to detect these Templar. So that is such a clutch reaction with those drones. Saving
Off the creep. Needs to get back into safety here. There is detection here for Elazer as well, but he needs to pull his roaches back to that spore or something. Just keep those DTs away from him. He's taking a bit of damage there. Oh, Elazer delaying this third as well. Oh. Nice play with this drop lord.
That cheeky Overlord there just keeps on finding these little bits of damage, and the psychological impact of this has got to be massive. But so far, ShoWTimE staying very calm, continuing to warp in actually a 5th Dark Templar. So he's going to go for the double Archon drop, as well as the DT harassment. These Zerglings continuing to force more and more APM out of him, as well as killing probes.
This is an incredibly high value drop play here for Elazer. Like, it's not ending the game, but he's done great early game damage to the Protoss, and sometimes it can upset your tempo, just kind of delay things a bit, give the Zerg a bit more breathing room, like you said. And here come the Archon drops with this Prism, but the Prism has already taken so much damage. He needs to be very, very careful here.
Those Archons, of course, just going to let some of their shields take damage, focus down a few of these roaches and drones. Good micro from Elazer, actually pulling back all of his hurt roaches, keeping them all alive for now. But ShoWTimE getting what damage he can get done. Does have his 3rd Nexus finally on the way. However, I've got to say, Elazer definitely looking to be in the lead here. He's got his 3rd base well down. Doesn't have a crazy drone lead or anything, but spread across a lot more bases, which means he's got a much better income right now.
Yeah, he's saturated. He's been mining for a little bit here. The Archon's coming into the third hatchery natural location. Just clearing out that drone line, delaying a little mining time here for Elazer, doing some damage to the roaches as well. They're getting a low hot pick up there for ShoWTimE. Prism does get out. Oh, here's an actual full Overlord, not a fake one.
Great Stalker prep from ShoWTimE, really over-preparing for these drops. This is what we loved in game 1, and actually another empty Overlord. So he's got one full Overlord on one side and an empty one on the other one, which ShoWTimE actually doesn't react to. This is one of those moments where ShoWTimE making a mistake actually works in his own favor there, and he's going to blast that down.
Ooh, does survive. And his hurt Overlord coming in again. Stalker's repositioning though. ShoWTimE could potentially get a nice pick off here, and it looks like he will.
That is really smart thinking from ShoWTimE. Rotates those Stalkers at the perfect time. Great star sense, realizes what he has to do, and ooh, that War Prism's very weak here. Yeah, can't stay too long.
Queens did get extra range recently, got to be careful with those. Got a DT, that fifth DT coming in here, getting some drone kills. There is a Spore Caller though.
That's going to be good. This DT going to pay for itself.
That's actually very nice, these drone kills. This is so good for ShoWTimE.
And about time he found some damage as well, because Elazer has been so on top of the drop defense. But I do have to say, Elazer actually is down 10 workers right now. Even though he's been shutting down a lot of ShoWTimE's moves, ShoWTimE's defense has been splendid. Elazer invested a lot in those drops. They didn't find any damage, and somehow at the end of this, ShoWTimE just staying so calm in the midst of chaos is up 20 supply.
Is indeed. Getting that wall up there for the third, very, very critical at stopping those run-bys, or at least delaying them, making them a little bit more awkward for the Zerg. This Prism's still alive, these two Archons are so hard to kill, but he is starting to do a bit of damage to these Roaches. Nice micro from both players.
Oh, look at that production, Tab Maynard.
Swarm hosts!
This is so sick. I think it was Drogo who mentioned that Elazer has actually been throwing in Swarm hosts just in the mix, in practice. And this is so crazy. 5 Swarm hosts coming out. This is something we almost never see now. They work so differently to how they did back in Heart of the Swarm, but they can still do a lot of damage. They're going to be able to pick away, especially on this map. He can get down on the right-hand side, throw those into the main or the natural of ShoWTimE, and really keep him pinned back.
Swarm host is back, baby. Let's see what Elazer can get done with this. Used to be a siege unit, is now a fantastic harassment unit for the Zerg when used correctly.
Doesn't need an upgrade to have the Flying Locust anymore. Oh, good probe. Oh, these Baneling run-bys. Always at least finding mining time. So many probes barely surviving, and look at that. ShoWTimE has got to be so freaking out right now. Like, what do you possibly analyze as this happening right now?
So Buster's dust. A bunch of Locusts just coming into this natural here, doing some damage, 5 probe kills, and also a Stalker kill as well.
ShoWTimE has to think really fast right now. He needs to say, okay, if this is going to be happening, Swarmers throwing these free units, I need to zone them out. You can see his army's rotated to the right-hand side. He's left spotting units over there, so whenever those Swarm hosts come in, he can jump on top of them and force out that wave of Locusts early, so by the time it hits the mineral line, they've already run out, they all just disappear, they explode into little Zerg pieces, and that way he can keep on top of this. But the Ravagerling Bane combined with it might be looking for the engagement.
More Locusts heading towards that natural. ShoWTimE looking a little bit more prepared for it this time. Let's have some more units here to engage those Locusts. Does blink forward, overcharging the pylon as well. The Locusts are just free units though. They are getting free damage every time they do this. More probe kills.
Getting a pylon and 5 probes. That supply lead for Elazer looking very scary right now. More Banelings trying to work their way in. This cannon being a good hero right now, but I don't think it's going to stop the damage.
They're very low hit point probes.
Oh, and at the same time, Baneling drop in the main base. Elazer just hitting from every single angle. And this is disastrous for ShoWTimE. He's got an Archon drop up on the third of Elazer, but I mean, he's not really, actually it's just a single DT. The Archon drop was out on top of the Swarm hosts earlier, but wasn't able to kill any of them. And Elazer here just dominating the map.
And his creep spread is already nearly at that 4th Nexus for ShoWTimE here. A position he's trying to take up. Look at the units lost, Tab. He's just been losing so many probes in this game. More probe kills going down as well.
Once again, there's no Storm on the way. These Locusts just picking off so many workers right now. ShoWTimE knocked down to 49 probes. He's got his 4th base secure, but he's stuck on just Archons and Charge Lots. He's not able to do any damage with the counterattacks. These Zergling run-bys continuing to come in.
Hit point probes, easy pickings for these Zerglings. Way more probe kills going down. He's been knocked down to 45 as the 63 drones here of Elazer.
Oh, and Elazer knows that he's ahead. Once again, being patient, goes for the Hive, goes for the Spire. He's going to work towards that Broodlord tech once again. And he's going to say, I'm not going to just kind of walk into your Archons in a choke point. I'm not going to give you that perfect engagement you need. ShoWTimE, you need to push me before I get those Broodlords, otherwise you're in big trouble.
This is a goodbye base cluster of Banelings if he goes for that. But he is going to look for those Stalkers. Oh, pulling back here, and Elazer did not want this engagement. Unfortunately, he has to fall in there. He does get some Stalker kills, but that was a lot of gas in those Banelings.
Yeah, great trade there for ShoWTimE, but at the same time, the Locusts come in, another 5, 6, 7 probes go down.
Big engagement.
Oh, wow, the Banelings getting the surface area. They're getting in the middle of that Protoss army. The Sentries and Stalkers starting to disappear. The Immortals going down, but a couple of good force fields do manage to buy ShoWTimE a little bit of time, but I think he realizes how desperate the situation is right now. He's going to try to counter push into this, but with only 4 Archons, 4 Immortals, and a couple of Gateway units, I don't think this is enough.
Absolutely, Elazer is teching here, but he does still have so many units. He is engaging here at this fourth hatchery, and to keep it alive, Bile's coming down in a Protoss army that cannot escape.
Oh, he breaks down the rocks, cutting off the flank of Zergling Baneling. A sick move from ShoWTimE, but there's just so much stuff from
It's
the Zerg.
just so much from Elazer. A game of numbers, GG! And Elazer finds himself on match point.
Wow. Wow.
Wow.
I am actually gobstruck right now. I cannot believe how well Elazer is playing. You know, Drogo was saying, he was practicing with Elazer a lot. He was saying, some of these games, you just shake your head and you think, how do you possibly beat this Elazer style? And now that I'm seeing it here in action, I've got to agree with him. This looks so powerful. ShoWTimE is going to need to dig so deep to find an answer to this.
Absolutely here, and it looks like just before we get into the third game, we are going to have a short break, guys, so do not go away. The WCS Global Finals will continue very shortly.
Heroes of the Storm. Prepare for Heroes Brawl, the new game mode that breaks all the rules. Rated T13.
G'day guys, an all-Australian casting team coming to you from Anaheim here at the arena. The StarCraft 2's WCS Global Finals 2016. Passionate nerds from wall to wall, from the window to the wall pick. They are everywhere and they're all here to see this round of 8 unfold. Day one here and already with explosive start. Elazer taking the ropes, 2 games here to 0 against ShoWTimE.
Such impressive play out of the young Polish Zerg. You know, we keep calling him young, but of course ShoWTimE, not that much older than him himself, but he's really rose to prominence a little bit earlier than Elazer. And if you think of these two guys, ShoWTimE, he won a WCS Circuit Championship this year in Tours. He's absolutely made so many semifinals, so many good opponents that he's just trounced. Elazer, on the other hand, he's had a lot of top 8s, he's had a lot of good performances, but it really feels like he has just ascended to a new level here at BlizzCon.
And he had the points to get here on the day. Both these players have worked so hard this year, and it's great to see it pay off here. But who will continue and get into that semi-final against possibly Neeb or Dark? What a scary semi-final there for whoever wins this series. ShoWTimE could come back, guys. And if you want to see it happen, you better make some noise, because we are getting into game number 3, and it is on Galactic Process. All right, in the top right here, from Germany, send him some love if you want to see this tie it up. It is ShoWTimE! He's worked so hard. Does it end here?
If there is one player I actually feel could bring it back from the brink of defeat here, being down 0-2, it is ShoWTimE. But with the way Elazer is playing, I feel like even winning a map or 2 is going to be so hard here.
And let's get this introduction down for the Polish Zerg. He's on match point. This is Elazer! And you bring up a good point, man. He's got a mountain to climb, a Polish mountain to climb. It is going to be tough.
Oh yeah.
It just seems like he's just, as Tastes would say, he's downloaded it. He just seems to know how to beat ShoWTimE here, and he's been doing it in flying colors too. These games just really spiral out of control. And Elazer takes amazing leads and just capitalizes.
That Zergling drop early on last game, really just putting the ball in Elazer's court, and he never let go of it from there. ShoWTimE, he's so good at defending once these bad situations happen, but I feel like he's got to stop it happening in the first place. With Elazer and the way he is playing right now, his form is just too good. You can't let him sneak in a Zergling drop like that. You've got to be on top of everything for the first 5 or 6 minutes.
And if this gets unscouted, Elazer again could possibly go for that all-in into the natural of ShoWTimE. We see that another cheeky hidden ace here, but ShoWTimE, too good for that, does scout it.
And this is one of those hard moments as a pro gamer. As ShoWTimE, you're trying to play defensive, you're trying to play macro, you're trying to play the hardest way there is to play StarCraft, where you just react to what your opponent does. You're not the one gaining any tempo through this. Really, all he gets to control the pace of the game is those little bits of pressure, which Elazer has shut down. So he's got to dig deep and stay so calm and focused in the midst of this chaos.
Keeping this probe out here, ShoWTimE, it's making me question what he's up to. This Ling is looking for proxy pylons or any proxy tech whatsoever, patrolling that ramp to see if that probe comes back. Cybercore is done. Just looks like standard Protoss for now. Elazer getting speed back at home, just playing a regular ZVP, but there's that Stargate right under the Overlord.
Yep, once again, ShoWTimE saying, I know you're going to get Overlord speed every game. I do not care about hiding my tech at all. Being very safe with that first wall off, with the Nexus, and then having the further forward wall off for the frontal defense once he takes the third. I would have to say it's probably going to be double Oracle play out of this. The Phoenix play, which ShoWTimE was such a big fan of a few weeks ago, has really faded out of the meta. And he himself was saying backstage he's not very confident with Phoenix. They're just not good enough against Zerglings and Banelings. They just can't pick them up and shoot them down fast enough.
Yeah, it might be a showing of nerves here if he does go for that Phoenix play, but ShoWTimE, very, very likely, as you said, Pig, going to be going for that Oracle play, and the Overlord just slowly creeping in here for a bit of a look at the natural, seeing what the wall looks like, what he's up against here. Overlord speed just kicking in now. Elazer gets it every game, and why not? It's been so helpful for him.
Oh, it is actually going to be Phoenix coming out here for ShoWTimE, at least to start things off. So that is a nice way to shut down these Overlord drops, of course. Maybe he's just said, I've had enough. Those drops just keep coming in. I'm not able to actually punish them. The Stalkers can't chase them off and hunt them down. So that's it. I'm just going to go for Phoenix opening here. Probably stop at 5 or 6 Phoenix, maybe go up to about 7. That way I can shut down those Overlords and just focus on the frontal defense.
Yeah, they absolutely will shut down these Overlords, or at least make Elazer think twice before sending in a huge commitment for a drop there. And this is ShoWTimE's safe place. Like you mentioned, you love to play Phoenix and PvZ for a very, very long time. And I hope for ShoWTimE and for Protoss fans out there that it does actually work out. Chasing down Overlord #1 here.
You can't hide. He was trying to go right to the corner of the map.
He's running out of map.
But there's no hiding from these Phoenix. Look at that, checking right to the corner. It used to be common against Phoenix openers to hide those Overlords right in the corner of the map, wait till the Phoenix were on your side trying to harass the drones, and then bam, Banelings dropped in the mineral lines would just destroy the probe lines. But ShoWTimE's on top of that, doesn't leave anything to chance, shuts those down. He's going to be going to that Twilight Council and third base behind that Phoenix opening.
Yeah, and Elazer starting up for Elazer as well as he gets +1 for the Lings. Looks like he's going to be going for what you basically expect in a lot of pro-level ZVPs for the heavy Ling style. Not changing it up too much as a reaction to these Phoenixes, which has obviously taken damage from with that one Overlord kill. Ling coming up to the natural, having a bit of a look here. And yeah, Elazer's locking things down back at home. It's just we're not going to see too much action in the early game here. Both players posturing.
I'm curious to see if Elazer chooses to build extra queens. Looks like, yeah, one more queen starting up that production tab. So he's going to try and actually keep a little bit of map control against these Phoenix. Ooh, nice pickup here with that fourth Phoenix coming in. He might just barely be able to get that, but oh, nope. The other queens come in to support. And a wasted lift there for ShoWTimE. A very good defense to start things off for Elazer.
Yeah, only losing 2 drones there. That is damaged, but like you said, it could have been way worse there. Losing that queen would have been very, very horrible in the early game. It's a lot of his injections there. Oh, ShoWTimE switching gears here. Oh. No more macro.
This is something ShoWTimE is so good at doing, is just throwing down a lot of gateways and going for a bigger depth pressure to punish a greedy Zerg opponent. Funnily enough, there's actually 2 Baneling nests on that production tab from Elazer. A little bit of a mistake, as well as a Hydralisk in. And you know what? Hydras and Zerglings are not good against. It is masses of Adepts walking to your base. He's just going to warp in a couple of big rounds of Adepts, launch an attack in there and try to just wipe out Elazer. The real answer for Elazer, though, is having Banelings ready. If he spots this in time, gets some Banelings out, he might be able to hold on. Otherwise, Hydras and Zerglings popping when there's already Adepts in your base, you're not going to have a good time.
Yeah, and you definitely won't have the numbers either, as you've invested already all your lava into the Banelings. We've got the Phoenixes coming in here. Again, a little bit more harassment on this gas, pulling some drones there. 3 damage for ShoWTimE there. Lurker Den on the way for Elazer. He's teching here, and ShoWTimE's about to hit a timing with these Adepts.
There are still no Banelings on the map right now. There are 7 Zerglings and 6 Queens, and the first big Adept warp-in begins. He's building Hydralisks right now. That is not what you need to stop this Elazer. ShoWTimE is catching Elazer with his pants down. He's going to dive in on top of these mineral lines. Elazer is in a big spot of trouble right now.
He needs to pull all of his Zerg units here to try and muster up a defense, but it just looks like ShoWTimE has absolutely surprised him. Some Banelings just morphing now, but there are already so many Adepts, more of the Adepts being warped in by this Prism. And Elazer is siphoning units here. Hydralisks are coming in. There's only 3 of them. 2 more here reinforcing for the 3rd. But there is too much from ShoWTimE.
So much damage already going down, but ShoWTimE has to get more done. This needs to spiral out of control. And it looks like it is. All the drones evacuating from the main and the 3rd. Oh my God.
That's it. ShoWTimE keeps the series alive for Brutus, for Germany.
What a sick build there to bring that back to 1-2. That is champion quality decision making right there. He knows he's down. He knows Elazer here is just getting ahead of him every game. He says, I need to do something to throw a spanner in the works. I need to throw him off his rhythm. Chooses a very aggressive build, a little bit of a gamble, but he takes that risk, punishes Elazer, and suddenly the ball is back in ShoWTimE's court. He has a chance to bring it back in this series.
Nothing excites me more than when a player is 2 down in a best of 5, switches gears, and it works. And all of a sudden, you just don't know. You're feeling so confident that they're the guy that's up 2-0. Everyone probably watching at home here in the arena is like, Elazer's got this, man. He's been walking all over ShoWTimE in Game 1 and Game 2. Absolutely not. ShoWTimE is surprising nerds worldwide here, switching it up with a bit of aggression there on a Galactic Process.
Elazer did have a little bit of that Adept trauma on his face, but it looks like it's starting to fade off now. He's regaining his calm composure. And he did go for a little bit of a kind of gambly response, I guess you could say. A very greedy response is the best way to describe that. He was like, you know what, you're going Phoenix? I'm just going to rush to Lurkers, have almost no units, just drone up really hard, because you're ShoWTimE, you just defend. I'm going to just hit you with this really surprising Lurker attack. You know, of course, the Adepts come in, he's not prepared, drops a map, but he can just shake that off and say, all right, let's go back to my more solid game plan. If he goes Phoenix again, let's play a little bit safer next time. Let's scout a little bit more with those overlords around the edges of the map.
Well, that's actually a point I was just about to bring up. Those Phoenixes were the answer there for ShoWTimE. His tech went out unscouted. Those gateways went down without a single clue there from Elazer, and you could see it in his play. He was teching for Lurker tech. He was trying to get to that next level, and ShoWTimE hit in that awkward position where you're spending all of your money on getting that next stage in your game plan, and you have no units.
What perfect decision-making there from ShoWTimE. He's going to need more of that because the next map is going to be a very dicey one. It's going to be very exciting, Maynard.
That's right. It is going to be an interesting game here. We're going on to Dasan Station for game number 4, guys. Oh, that stage just gets me wiggly and jiggly every time, Pig.
I love it.
Now let's get amongst it, guys. Time to introduce these players in the bottom right here. This is ShoWTimE! Still on match point in the top here. It's not so easy anymore. This is Elazer!
Gears might have shifted in last game. We might have seen ShoWTimE change things up. But one thing is for sure, we're going to need to see both players change it up here because this map is unlike any other. It's like a completely different version of StarCraft in some sense. Yeah. You are so close to each other, and we can actually see Elazer here going for the gold expansion on the low ground towards ShoWTimE. That is so exposed. He actually took it as a 15 hatchery very, very early before even getting that Overlord. So he is going to be getting that up very early. And there is going to be some pressure on ShoWTimE to try and slow Elazer down. Of course, there's a lot of options. You can run an Adept around behind the mineral line and just pick off the drones without the Zerg being able to reach it. There's so many different crazy all-ins both players can throw at each other.
Yeah, and it is actually such a easily harassed base as well. There's not a whole lot you can do if Adepts get back there in the middle line. You're just gonna lose drones back and right. Even if you have Queens, they just do so well here. And ShoWTimE's game plan is going to have to change things up as well, because you just can't play regular StarCraft on this map, Pig. That's what Darsan Station's here. Blizzard made this map on purpose to say, guys, for 6 maps, you can play regular if you want, but for Darsan, if you try that, you're just going to die.
Oh yeah, this map forces the players to really adapt. That is one of the most defining skills in terms of success on this map. It is, can you adapt to this map? Can you play to the craziness of such close spawns? Can you play with this gold base, which is such a risk, but also such a high reward as well?
Looks like some proxy going down here for ShoWTimE. Elazer starting to break down those rocks. There's that pile. He could overcharge the... He is sending the mothership core now.
Yeah, that's so sick. Actually going to deny mining there for a good 20 or 30 seconds. Of course, Elazer is already working on those back rocks. You can see him pulling his queens.
He's out of range of the queens.
He sees what's happening and he's like, oh man, that's going to be so annoying. He's actually... He's massing a lot of Zerglings right now.
But they can't get back there. Wow. They're going to have to go across the map and try and get something done at the front, but this is a pretty locked-in wall for ShoWTimE. This Queen's just like, hurry up!
Ooh, one drone does go down. Good pull from Elazer. Doesn't lose any more, but he's going to lose a lot of mining time while he waits for that overcharge to run out. But this is a lot of Zerglings. Zergling speed's almost done. Overlord speed is on the way as well. Good. Yeah, nice pylon wall. He's going to lose the Adept, but a lot of Zerglings will go down in order to get that kill. And right now, ShoWTimE needs to get some more gateways. He did spend a bit of money on that pylon and that fast mothership core. And right now, Elazer, he's just not building workers. He's just going all in.
Yeah, it's just the production tab shows us that it's just lings. We're getting some Evo chambers. We're getting the Overlord speed, so he is going to try drops if he gets to that point as well. And once he breaks down these rocks, he can deal with that pylon. But you're absolutely right. He's just done with work. He's got 17 drones, and he's not making any more.
I'd love if we could get a shot of the back door of ShoWTimE just very quickly before he goes in with this scout, because his wall's not quite finished. And his mothership core actually gets denied from scouting the main by the Queen, shooing it out of there. So I don't think he actually got to see that there is a very low drone count. He does see there, very low drones. Okay, ShoWTimE's got to know. He sees all these Zerglings break down these rocks, but the drop is already here.
A big drop in the main here, not many units from ShoWTimE. The mothership core not here yet either. A sentry force field not really being useful at all as probes come off the line. This is ShoWTimE's last defense here. He has to hold to stay alive in the series.
That's the last overcharge, and oh no, the Zergling's already starting to work on those back rocks. He just doesn't have enough units right now. Those gateways were so late. He's trying to turn them into warp gates desperately. He's trying to wall off, but those Zerglings, those Queens, they're just going to elevate her over the top.
The Queens are here as well.
No, this is just too much Zerg.
It's too much Zerg. He's cracked it. He's in the main here, and ShoWTimE doesn't seem to have an answer. He's pulling those probes. His wall's getting worked on as well by Elazer at the same point. Micro here for the Queens moving back. They don't even need creep. They have Overlords to micro them from back and forth. He's got transfuses left as
another
well.
overcharge comes down. It's doing a lot of damage, but I think, so many probes going down. But he's still up in workers. If he can just barely survive, he might be able to stabilize right now.
He cannot lose this Immortal. It is so important. Lynx have cracked through the wall here, and they are starting to decimate 4 probes here. The Immortal getting low.
Elazer so decisive here on Darsan Station. He has managed to almost completely overwhelm, but right now they are still tied neck and neck on workers. ShoWTimE still has that Immortal alive. He's got 2 Adepts and a Stalker. It's such a small force, but it is an elite force. Against just Zerglings and Queens, he seems to be barely hanging on, but no, has to pull the probes. More Zerglings flooding in. The Queen still alive here.
And the army supply is starting to even out here. They are getting a little bit close. This Immortal has been so important. He's damaging those Queens. They've run out of transfusers. They're leaving here with the Overlord. They have done a lot of damage to ShoWTimE, and he is actually down in workers now. He's managed to kill so many probes. 28 probe kills, knocked him down to 12.
And with that gold base mining, that's so important. That's going to give him such a boost in the income. And, ShoWTimE here, he doesn't have the mobility. He can't defend that natural mineral line. He's trying to rebuild probes. He's warping in Zealots because they actually do better damage than Adepts in small numbers in these small engagements. But look at this, Elazer abusing the mobility. Zergling's going to work on that back nexus. If ShoWTimE moves to defend, he's going to dive in the front.
And he does. The Immortal here left naked. The probe's leaving him. This Immortal is so important. He cannot lose it. The Overlord getting low. That Nexus is almost certainly dead. Not a whole lot that ShoWTimE can do about that.
This might just be a checkmate here.
GG! Elazer, the Zerg from Poland, is our last remaining European player as he goes into the semi-finals.
What decisive play there. Just went for that big, aggressive attack. Knowing the pylon could see it, but knowing that it would still be so hard for ShoWTimE to defend on that map. Had to spend so much money walling off those sides. Wasn't quite able to hold on. He came close, he almost pulled it back, but in the end it just wasn't enough to stop this Polish youngster.
And Elazer knew that this was going to be a very, very hard series. You could see the relief on his face as he finished off in that booth, getting that 4th game win on Dasan Station. Woo. I'm like lightheaded, Pig. That series was so explosive, literally and figuratively.
And we are just going to be going to a very quick break. Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back.
Heroes of Azeroth, I have witnessed our end. Demonic armies spilling over the horizon and onto our shores. Heed my warning. The Burning Legion has returned. Stronger, more determined than ever before. These demons seek to annihilate everything upon Azeroth. No single person can stand against the Legion alone. And so you came to me. I will deal with these intruders. No, she wouldn't. I knew we couldn't trust her!
In the end, death claims us all.
The Legion cannot be stopped. Our time is short. Now go. But remember, should you fail, all worlds will burn.
Welcome back, everybody, and congratulations to Elazer. You are moving on to the semifinals. I mean, Elazer, at the beginning of this tournament, people looked at you and they said, you know, he might be the biggest underdog at this tournament, but you proved them wrong. You just took down the WCS Spring Champion. You are on to the top 4 here. What is going on in your head?
Yeah, well, I think I also was the biggest underdog, but I practiced so much. I think I'm improving in very fast trades, so right now I think I deserve maybe top 8 at this tournament, and yeah, it can only get better.
Well, you're not just top 8, you are now top 4. So speaking of preparation, I was sitting backstage with both Drogo and Neeb, and they spoke at how well you played when they played those custom games with you. Let's just talk about those Swarm hosts, because that's a unit that I think a lot of people have not seen for a long time. So is that something you just specifically prepared for that map?
Yeah, exactly. All the Swarm hosts are really bad in my opinion, but on this map they are actually very useful, because the natural base is like positioned like this, so Swarm hosts cannot be defended pretty much, unless you go for maybe Stargate, maybe Oracles, but without Stargate you cannot really defend them. So they are very good on this map.
And just speaking to the series overall, obviously ShoWTimE is a player that has proven himself this year. He's shown himself on that big stage. Because of his maybe experience, did that make you a little bit nervous going up against him?
Not really. I think my ZVP is my best matchup, by far best matchup. I practiced it way more than ZVT or ZVZ. So I was really confident in this matchup, and if I get Neeb, I will be also confident.
So yeah, speaking of the next matchup, it is either going to be Neeb or Dark. Now Neeb, as you just mentioned, he is a Kespa Cup champion. Dark, on the other hand, is an SSL champion, so you have to pick your poisons there. Who do you think will move forward?
I think it's going to be Dark, but it's going to be really close. And I don't really mind who am I going to get, actually. I think ZVZ, I'm quite good at it, and ZVP, I'm also quite good at it.
All right, well, congratulations again, Elazer. And with that, your first WCS Global Final semi-finalist will be Elazer.
Thank you very much, Smix, and congratulations to Elazer. A big victory there as he moves through as the first player in the top 4 of the 2016 WCS Global Finals. The story tale continues for Elazer, another round forward.
And it was in dominant fashion. Those first 2 games in particular were just, it was the Elazer show. It was like, wow, holy cow, ShoWTimE's getting outclassed tremendously. A nice timing attack in game 3, but otherwise business as usual. And just, Elazer, that's the first we saw of his ZVP, and he's saying it's better than a ZVZ. I actually might believe him, and a ZVZ is really good. So the stars are aligning. Again, he gets another Zerg or another Protoss, and then he's in the finals of this thing. It's absolutely amazing.
I loved it. I thought it was an awesome series. I actually think that ShoWTimE played pretty good this first game. You know, he was reacting well to some of the stuff that Elazer was throwing at him. Even a run by like this, it could be catastrophic sometimes, but he had cannons. He was sniping overlords. It really felt that ShoWTimE had a good read. But this hold, I don't know how Elazer held this, because normally when it's like 185, 190 supply army of Archons, Immortals, that's supposed to be good enough against Banes and Ravagers. Well, it wasn't. You know, he held back a couple of Banelings, like you pointed out, Jeff, as well. He went for it again, and it really felt like we were watching the Swarm, because I don't know where those Lings and Banelings kept coming from, but yeah, Elazer played great, awesome, especially I think game number 1. That was really the game that stood out for me.
Yeah, like Elazer looked very good mechanically, and the thing that really stood out to me above that, though, was how crisp he was strategically, like using the Swarm host, something we don't see almost ever, but bringing that out on a specific map, that's something he's practiced a lot. And even like his transitions into Broodlords, the way that he would keep certain units back, like this crash in the Archons, now this crash in the Archons, he just really was on top of everything. Even the mind games, right? How many times do we see empty drop overlords fly over mineral lines and make ShoWTimE run away? Like, he was on top of everything throughout this game, and even if Neeb beats Dark, I think this is a really tough one.
Well, I mean,
like,
Elazer
definitely could go to the finals.
Yeah, but also like patient play, coming from multiple angles, constantly taking the right fight, fighting on creep, like all those things that we as analysts have like overcomplicated throughout the year. Like, wow, here's the little things we can nitpick. He's actually kind of doing all of them, and as Dan said, adding creative play in there as well. Some of the overlords were empty, some had full things, and if you're ShoWTimE, there's no indication one way or the other. You're just like, well, I gotta react one way or the other. Just amazing play.
And switching it up a lot as well, like that early link drop is something that we don't see that often anymore. It was quite common for quite some time on King Sejong, and then suddenly it was like, nah, you know, the Protoss know how to deal with it, so it fell out of fashion. He's like, all right, one of the games, I'm gonna drop 8 links early on. And getting 5 probes for 2 links, I mean, that's a phenomenal trade for Zerg. That's, you know that you're in this very, very sweet spot already.
And here's game 4, and it's another timing attack. The kind of slight disappointment for me is that this is a very predictable all-in on this map if you're a Zerg facing a Protoss. So for me, ShoWTimE, maybe a little bit of the wind fell from his sails or something like that, because he pretty much should have known this was coming. Opted for a strategy that ended up picking off 1 drone, but at the cost of a photon overcharge that he desperately could have used back at home. So I mean, he's playing on the biggest stage. He's down. He's an elimination match like in game. So I can understand the mistakes. It's a little bit too bad because ShoWTimE was so crisp earlier.
Would you say that ShoWTimE disappointed or didn't play to his full potential, or was it really that Elazer excelled?
You know, I don't think he really played that bad. Like, he was playing a very strong game. There's maybe like 1 or 2 things he could have done different on Frozen Temple, which might have made the difference. Like, maybe he gets Psystorm or something like that. But truthfully, looking at his army, we were all thinking like, oh yeah, he can probably break this. And then he just couldn't quite do it. So I'm not really that disappointed in ShoWTimE. It was still a good showing. I think what it is Elazer is just so good at this matchup that what can you expect?
I think the result is unfortunate because I agree with Dan. I think all the games from ShoWTimE were, for the most part, fairly well played, especially game 1. He was very patient, really drew it out when I think a lot of other Protosses would have like flung themselves in a situation thinking they had the advantage and lose. But for ShoWTimE to demolish in round of 16 in those groups, the players that he did, only to get defeated by Elazer, it's like on paper it's disappointing, but for those of you that have been watching BlizzCon this entire time, I think you can kind of see the way this is going, and it makes a little bit more sense.
And his chances against the next opponent, so it's either going to be Dark or Neeb. Good shots against both of them.
Very, very good shots. I mean, we said it all right. We saw his ZVZ in the group stage. It's awesome. He took out Nurcho 2-0, a very big victory for him because Nurcho has had his number a couple of times in the past. He made it look, I wouldn't say easy against Solar, but even the game he lost against Solar, he could have won. Like, it was one of those best of 3s where it could and maybe even should have been a 3-0, which obviously doesn't happen, but that could have been the case, and he just said it here on stage. He said, my ZVP is better than my ZVZ, so I see absolutely no reason now why Elazer can't make it to the finals of BlizzCon, which is just insane.
That's wild for me because, I mean, before we get ready for our next match at hand, you look at Elazer's year, and you look at the tournaments he's played in, the results he's got.
A lot
of
top 8.
Very consistent, top 16, top 8 performances. But you're talking to me like he's about to be in the final and that he's looking at maybe, if he gets a bit lucky, a championship. How has this happened? Is it just a lot of...
Stars aligning, man. I mean, I'm overplaying how bad his ZVT is. Obviously, he's a top-tier player, so it's not that bad. But to be honest, if he does face a Beyond or TY in the finals, it will probably be very one-sided. If he keeps getting Zergs and Protoss, he's got a fighter's chance.
Wow. Any final thoughts here, Artosis, before we move on?
I'm so impressed with the kid because, as you said, he like didn't really do that well this year. Well, I mean, you make it to BlizzCon, you're doing very well, but he doesn't have any like big championships. He doesn't have a bunch of finals or top 4 finishes. He just kind of like grinded his way here and just made it in right above the cutoff. So for him to go from there to here is a top 4, and we're really talking about him possibly winning the whole thing if the bracket goes right.
He didn't even make BlizzCon, right? Wasn't he one of the replacements?
Yeah, well, he was tied for 8th, so he was supposed to play an elimination match against Violet.
Okay.
ZBZ, who knows how that goes, but people dropped out, and I mean, here he is. And
that's awesome.
It's impressive.
All right, well, thank you very much, gentlemen. We'll be hearing a lot more from these throughout the day. It is time to prepare ourselves for the next match coming up. This is going to be an exciting one, as we do have a Star League champion, a 2-time Star League finalist, going up against the American, going up against Neeb. It's going to be Neeb versus Stark.